All right, it's 05 almost, so we're going to kickstart. Okay, can you hear it clear? Thank you, Min. Appreciate. So let's start. So this session is going to be recorded. So afterwards, if like there is anything that you didn't hear clearly, or if you have any question, please do not hesitate to let us know. I don't think today we're going to have enough time for Q&A, so we're going to keep it for like a private session. So if you have any questions, please let us know. All those materials are going to be uploaded afterwards on YouTube. So you're going to have the opportunity to visualize them, and then we're going to have the transcript to ensure that that everybody has access to this. So we're going to start by sharing our screen, and we can initiate everything. So let's have a look here. All right, and let's start. So first of all, thank you everybody for like spending a little bit of your time on this a little bit gray morning in Shanghai. I hope that wherever you are in Asia Pacific, because I believe with the time we chose to do this, most of the people are actually located in Asia Pacific. Like for the second webinar and like all the rest, we might think of doing them at a different time, but Justin and I are extremely happy to be here today to talk about Magento Adobe. But more generally about the e-commerce in China, how to build a successful direct-to-consumer infrastructure, whether you're on B2B or B2C. And you're going to see we have prepared for you 10 sessions. So the sessions are going to range from like 25 minutes all the way to 40 minutes. So today you can expect to be with us probably for 40 minutes. And today we're going to review the Chinese ecosystem and why like Magento can bring a very strong return on investment for local brand as well as for global brand. And we're going to try to give some element of answer about like how to build like a global and a local infrastructure when it comes to direct to consumer. So Justin is going to give a few details about Adobe and Magento in general.
So basically, for most of the people know Adobe as Photoshop or something else, but actually Adobe has a lot of long years experience on the digital experience for globally, and is also a leader in that area, definitely. So for Magento, actually, it's become one of the key part of Adobe. And so you can see the screen that actually for Magento, the business here is actually almost two of the second players in there. So basically, actually, Magento is one of the big companies who doing the e-commerce platform globally, not only in China. So to see how Magento are doing well here, I think there is a small typo here, but actually you can see that we have our B2B and the B2C part here for recent reports that shows Adobe for Magento here. Definitely for a different area, we still in the leader of the squadron. So that's one of the things we are considering. We are the leader in the market here. So for globally, it's one of the things that to see if those reports shows that Magento is one of the big company for the e-commerce. Another one is that actually we have lots of clients globally, and for the GMV and the numbers of customers actually is also the top one tiers in globally.
So very briefly about ITConsultis. So we're not as big as Adobe or Magento, so our figures are a little bit less impressive, but we have 3 offices across Asia Pacific, including one in China, one in Singapore, and one in Vietnam. We have about 80 people, 14 nationalities, and we've been in business for 9 years now. And a little bit like Magento, we provide different industry from luxury, fashion, fitness, pharmaceutical, finance. So we work really across industry, solving you know, like digital challenges for brands that are, you know, trying to build their e-commerce, their order management system, more specifically in China around, you know, like the WeChat ecosystem, WeChat solution. But also what we're doing is that we're building content management system and everything related to digital transformation or even experience creation when it comes to retail or sometimes online as well. So Justin,
yeah,
you want to...
let me quickly introduce myself. So basically, I work in Shanghai. So that's the reason I'm sitting here with Aurelien. And I actually focus on the Great China area. So basically for everything that's focused on the Magento, I will be the person you'll be able to contact with.
Okay. And myself, so Aurelien regards, I'm the vice president and co-founder of ITConsultis. So basically, we started this business along with my brother, and so I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I've been working on, you know, like facilitating workshop, you know, consulting for different brands. I'm a member of entrepreneur organization as well, and French founder, and clearly working towards, you know, a path of like constant self-improvement. Why are we doing this? So we are doing this to talk about the uniqueness of the Chinese market. The Chinese market, the Chinese internet is more like an intranet. There's so many things that needs to be considered. And very often, you know, like people are getting a little bit afraid of that market. They only think that, you know, only local solution can work and like, okay, global solution will never work here. But this is not true. And we're going to showcase, you know, why and how we can basically bring return on investment by using Magento and Adobe for brands, global brands, as well as local brands in China. And who we're doing this for? We're doing this for, you know, like people in China, in APAC, but as well like globally, e-commerce officer, digital executive who wants to understand how to build a successful e-commerce private traffic infrastructure when it comes to both B2B, B2C, leveraging both, you know, like website APPs or WeChat doing, that we're going to talk about in a little bit. And for international companies that are already, you know, like using Magento overall and that want to have like a better understanding of, you know, how to localize this Magento infrastructure. Sorry, I see that we have a few questions. So it seems that all good. Okay. Okay, so let's continue here. So we're going to, on top of this first session, we're going to have an extra 9 other sessions where we're going to talk about migration of like global infrastructure in China. We're going to talk about how Magento, WeChat are working together, Magento and WeChat work and interconnecting a global ecosystem all together. And on top of this, afterwards, we're going to review very specific case study to understand how you know, Magento has been successful already for existing brands. So let's talk a little bit about the e-commerce in China.
Yeah, so basically, as we know, there is a totally different market compared global to China. So as we know, for China, there is more than 20% actually are using e-commerce compared to the total revenue of the merchandiser here. So even though there has a different market in here as different search, different marketplace, different payment, and even the social is totally different. That's one of the things actually are something that we are totally need to know more about China at this moment. So when we are seeing that e-commerce in this particular time, so COVID-19 is one of the topics we are not able to skip. So to see how China reacts at this moment, so actually we come to see that actually because people are staying at home, they are having more internet traffic more than before, and the people are using more times to that us to using their mobile or any kind of internet activities. Even WeChat, we know there's already lots of people in there, but actually for current months of COVID-19, there is more than 36 million people are new to the WeChat. So that's one of the things. And to see how e-commerce goes on, we know that for March and April, definitely the packaging is going wild. So people are trying to get more from e-commerce. So that's one of the key things that for China, people are start to think that there is no way to say that it's already being slowed down, like e-commerce will not have more to grow, but actually that's not true. So to see how global brands, when they are trying to go into China, which kind of information they should know at first. So one thing that actually is to talking about China security laws. It's like it's also like a GMPD in the Europe. So how the difference, how we gonna obey those laws to make sure we make it okay to accept it. So that's one of the key questions. And the things in China, there is Tmall, Jingdong, there is lots of marketplace. Should I choose any of them, or how should I build my own brands with my own channel? And definitely for one thing, China is one of the market I have. So how should I manage my China market, with also controlled by our global point of view? So yeah, that's two kind of things.
So as Justin just mentioned, like there is two areas. There is like the private traffic and there is the public traffic. So the private traffic is basically everything where you have like the full ownership of the user journey, of like the entire traffic of the data. And the public traffic are usually marketplaces. And on those marketplaces, you're basically collaborating, like with a company that is, helping you to drive the traffic, but usually never really sharing, like the exact data that you're needing to move forward the relationship with the client. So in China, like the big three are basically Taobao, Tmall, and JD.com. And they are, in terms of private traffic, they're going to be your .cn or your WeChat mini program. And we see the arrival, for example, of like a Douyin mini program now as well. So what was interesting to see and to put in perspective with what Justin was saying is that what is, like the amount of private traffic or public traffic, like between the US and China. So in US, what we see is that like about 35% of, like the revenue is made through private traffic, and in China, only 15%. So that's the reason why, very often you're going to hear people saying, oh, I have my Tmall, I have my JD, I'm more than happy. But in the end, 15% of it is still like pretty strong when you consider that China e-commerce revenue represent 22% of like the overall revenue. So in the end, that's still like a huge, like budget envelope that is, like within the private traffic area. So that's why overall brands need to consider this. But if we take a step back, like to really explain, like what has happened in the past, and why the Chinese habits are a little bit different than the habit in the rest of the world. So if we go back to 2000, there is a huge lack of trust in terms of, like web, and in terms of logistic. There is quite a few like copycats of like existing brands website. So it was hard for a customer to go like on a .cn platform and think, okay, this is really, like a website that belongs to the brand. So there was a lot of mistrust, and there's a bit of a logistic challenges. It was really hard to build a platform. Magento was not here in 2000 or not yet. And there was really a lack of trust when it comes to accessing, like the rights, like through like search engine. Baidu was not like 100% trustworthy, like it was, often happening that you'll have your brand website that will be here. And then like sometimes, a website that will be not the website of the brand, popping on top, and the user thinking that will be the brand website. So that has created a lot of like distrust. And at that time, Alibaba arrived to kind of like fix it by providing, a payment system, and by really acting like an escrow between the vendor and the final client. They built something that was outstanding in terms of user experience, in terms of internal communication, but as well, like since they were an escrow platform, like the trust was like right away. and the logistic was good. And so therefore like brands, like chose this solution instead of like building their .cn website. And then of course, a lot of players came in, like Taobao, Tmall were the first ones. And then you had JD, you had the VIP.com, and you have other platforms that join in. But overall, operating, like a Tmall or like a JD can be extremely expensive. From like a Tmall partner commission that can be from 8 to 20%, sales commission, loyalty program fee. You can have, you need to have like a specific deposit, and like the client acquisition, internal SEO, SEM can be extremely expensive. So those amounts can range from 30 to 45% when you need to, take into account that very often those platforms are really, discount oriented. This is becoming, like very often a challenge. So brands are now a little bit struggling to grow and yet being profitable at the same time. And marketplaces are becoming a little bit of a red ocean with today 180,000 brands on Tmall. And when you look at Tmall Global, which is the cross-border platform, we have 20,000 brands. And within the next 3 years, this amount is going to double. So of course, there are benefits, like if 85 and 90% of the revenue is made there. That means like there is like a really large amount of customer. It's a safe start. There's a great visibility. But one of the biggest challenges is that you have very little, if no, data that you own, and the costs are rising, and there is a strong competition, and it's very hard to build a strong loyalty. So summing it up, the landscape is getting a little bit crowded, costs are rising, and basically fans and users of brands, they want to have a deeper connection and a more like VIP experience. So we're going to now talk about the rise of private traffic, and we're going to take 3 examples of brands that are actually doing a great job, towards private traffic. So since like a year and a half, private traffic has become kind of like the new hero in China. Everybody is talking about this, and they're talking about this because, since the beginning, things were okay, things were growing, but now things are becoming more competitive. So like brands need to engage with an environment where they have like the full control, what we call private traffic or first party data. And in order to do this, they really need to provide a VIP experience. So they need to go direct to consumer. Why is it important? As we said, owning your traffic, you own your own calendar, you own your own promotions, and you can really establish a deep connection between you and your users and provide them like a real customized experience. But the question is like, okay, we've been, using Tmall JD for 10 years. How are we going to be able to, bring people from a platform to another one? And this is where brands, really need to invest into creating, very specific habit for when the customer is going to think, okay, I need to buy sneakers. Okay, I'm going to come on that platform instead of like going back to JD or Tmall. So there is a lot of, initial work that needs to apply in order to create this behavior and to create this power of habit where people are going to take one route and going to come back in the future because that route was easy and frictionless. So a little bit of like some conversion rates that we have, witnessed from, traditional e-commerce, social commerce, and as well like working with top, influencer. So we see that this range can evolve a lot. So social commerce, through very often the fear of missing out, can play, like a big role in accelerating the conversion. And what we need to stop for a while here is, like WeChat mini program in 2019. So the reason why all of a sudden, like private traffic is something that can be leveraged and exists in China, one of the biggest reasons is actually the WeChat mini program ecosystem. So when we look at it, as for August 2019, there were 2.4 million mini programs that were created. And every day there's 300 million active daily users. But the most interesting thing here that we see is that in 2019, there were 120 billion US dollars that were spent through transactions on mini program. We're not talking here about red envelope or, like transfer money between friends. We're talking about 120 billion dollars that were spent by clients purchasing services or goods on those Chinese mini programs. So it is a huge market and an increase of 160% year on year. And when we see that WeChat has 1.2 billion daily users, and you compare it to only 300 million active users on a WeChat mini program, like things are going to go up, and we can predict that this 160% increase year on year is going to continue for the foreseeable future. So how do we make things happen from public traffic to private traffic? So this has been, you know, like the funnel of conversion for the last like 12, 15 years in China, using awareness, TV commercial, then like driving the traffic to marketplace, and then like having the purchase. And basically this is changing, where brands now are trying to place a subsequent funnel below the first one, in order to drive people towards, you know, like most of the time right now, their WeChat account or their Douyin account. They are doing this by encouraging the scan of a QR code, usually that is put in a package, and they're trying to track this conversion. So that's one of the way. Another way is like to ensure that the products that are going to be displayed in your private traffic areas are going to be a little bit different, more exclusive than the one you can find in the public traffic. And then through marketing automation, social CRM, you can start creating your loyalty loop and ensuring that basically the users are going to stay on this platform. The second one that has been extremely successful in China is basically you make a purchase on one of the marketplace, and usually since your phone number is going to be the one of your WeChat account, then like somebody, a key opinion consumer is going to add you and then put you in a group chat. And within this group chat, you're going to have like specific offers, specific discount, and the opportunity through the private traffic environment to once again create this loyalty loop. The third one, which is a little bit different, instead of like the user going to the marketplace, they're usually going to the in-store traffic, to the retail stores. And this is where, instead of like when the client is leaving, going back and going to the Tmall, you want to be sure that you are bringing this customer back to a private traffic channel where you're going to leverage your .cn or your mini program, and using the little icon you see at the bottom right is the icon of WeChat Work, which is a sister app of WeChat, which is very strong to do social selling, clienteling, and that it integrates perfectly well as well with Magento. We're going to have, you know, like an entire session about this in the future, and this is where you can create your loyalty loop. So here you see like different, you know, opportunities to create your private traffic channel, leveraging all the assets that you have at hand. So we're going to briefly talk about 3 brands that are rocking it. One of it is, you know, very famous in China, so this is going to be more for the non-Chinese here. So Bekili is one of the top influencers in China, selling millions of dollars of product a year. So one of her greatest accomplishments, and one of the reasons she's extremely famous, is like she sold 100 Mini Coopers in 5 minutes. That was like pretty strong. And now she has like her entire ecosystem, including, you know, like WeChat official account, WeChat e-commerce mini program, and she's leveraging this, you know, by every day doing some posting, using either key opinion consumer to bring back the traffic to her channels and to generate every day, you know, like very strong sales. Another one, which is, you know, like a Chinese unicorn, Perfect Diary, you know, very well known. It's a $2 billion brand, started just a few years ago and growing at a speed of light. And they, you know, like use like the playbook technique that we were talking about earlier, leveraging Tmall to start with, and then like building the subsequent funnel that we were talking about just a little bit earlier, and having, you know, like when the user will come on the WeChat account, having, you know, the opportunity to add a fictional key opinion consumer in the name of Xiaohongzi. And basically this key opinion consumer will place you in WeChat group chats, and then you'll be targeted and receive, you know, specific discounts on a daily basis. And the interesting thing now is that this brand, which is, you know, like a unicorn, is now like going to open 600 offline stores in the next 3 years. So you can see, you know, the different funnels that we were talking about. You have the opportunity to go 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3. So there's different opportunities here. And I think Perfect Diary is a perfect example of how you build your private traffic areas. Another one, which is usually more a B2B brand, and this is like an interesting, you know, thing that we've seen happening in the last couple of months and years, is that, you know, like B2B are trying to go a little bit more B2C. So Pernod Ricard, through their Drinks & Co initiative, they have now the opportunity to sell direct to the final end customer. And what's interesting here is that they had a global infrastructure that they need to localize for China using Magento here. And by doing this, they built, you know, like a website, a mini program. And on top of this, they're going to have, you know, the opportunity to do O2O by, you know, having specific bars, by having, you know, pop-up mini program, and ensuring that through, you know, a strong referral program, a strong loyalty program, limited edition, gift card, they're going to have the opportunity to really create, you know, like their specific users. And this is a very successful use of Magento here. So basically here is how afterwards, you know, brands can do a little bit of marketing automation, leveraging WeChat, leveraging social CRM, maybe Marketo, in order to create those user loop and ensuring that we're going to catch the user, comprehend, connect, and then afterwards convert. And WeChat is a perfect ecosystem to ensure this. And when you combine it with Magento, you can do fantastic things. So the key learnings is that we need to provide a service that is driving customers way closer to the brand if we want to create those powerful habits that we were talking to, those ecosystem. And we need to give like a real benefit to the audience if we want to do this. So let's take the example quickly of, for example, Taobao. Taobao, they have a referral program right now for live stream, where if you recommend a specific live stream to somebody, you know, in your audience, every time that this person within your audience is going to open one of the live stream, you're going to receive a hongbao. So this is very strong, and this is something that can be done and that should be done in order to create, you know, like those powerful habits. You want to make sure that your user want to come back on your private traffic, on your mini program. So now let's talk about building an omni-channel using Magento in China. And very often we hear that, you know, like Magento doesn't really work in China. It doesn't work with WeChat, or that is doesn't have functionality to work in China. And the answer is that, you know, of course, all of this doesn't really apply because Magento has a strong presence. And so what's very, you know, like what I say brands will usually see is that since it's a global solution, it's hard to apply in China. But since it's a self-hosted solution, we have many opportunities to leverage everything that is being done globally and localize it in China. And it's been working for many, many brands. And here, maybe Justin, you want to name just a few?
Yeah, so basically, as we know, most of the company going to China, they're seeking WeChat, like Adrian has already said. There's a lot of things done in there, and Magento 100% are able to support in that. So that's one of the reasons lots of local brands and the global brands, they are using Magento. It's not only because that Magento can fit the local needs, but also it's more open to have all kind of a source you have and to put it in the Magento to make sure what you need is in there.
So here's a quick list of things that are, you know, like the things that you need to do in order to have kind of your Magento ready for B2C in China, that are not necessarily coming out of the box, but with, you know, like a great team, you can build them quite easily, which is, we're talking about WeChat, Alipay login, we're talking about WeChat, Alipay invoice, you know, like to, you know, gather your FAPIA, WeChat Alipay address, which are specific API, WeChat customer service, and then all the rest are, you know, things that are native: catalog management, product rating, category management, promotion management, content management at a little bit of like interesting scale. And then you need to build your WeChat payment, your Alipay payment. Coupon is, you know, like part of the Magento ecosystem, even though you can twitch it for the Chinese one, SMS, WeChat notification, it's something that needs to be a little bit added. And live stream is something that is extremely simple to implement. But I think as well, having a backend that is both like Chinese and English at the same time for international companies can be something very interesting sometimes.
So actually, there is still one thing we don't go for more about Magento. Is this okay for the China security law? That's one of the things that I'm using this one is more like actually Magento are building China mainland. So all the information actually will be stored in China. So there's no data will flow out. Let's make sure that is legal. And definitely for any kind of data interaction with other platform here you see, and also actually Magento are able to using in the AliCloud, AWS, and any kind of cloud service in China. So that's totally 100% sure Magento is fit for the China security law. So actually what I already said, one thing actually for Magento is quite open. So it means basically for the platform you get is actually getting every line of codes of Magento. So basically you can change everything. That's one of the reasons why we can 100% sure to see that it can fit for China market. It's not only because we have studied China enough, but also because we have an open system that it can make changes for that. So definitely for e-commerce side, it's quite important for us to have our site going online in the market as soon as possible. So agility here is actually quite important as to have those things. So mainly for our clients actually to go live that website basically is only have 1 month to 3 months tops. So that's quite a small time for us at this moment. And definitely for innovations, that's why we have ITC here. They have done lots of things here so that basically there is anything that you need to customize is not in Magento. We have partners here. So there is something update for recent Magento here. So actually, as some of the people are starting to see, AI is quite important for us to have do the recommendation for the e-commerce side. So it's one of the things that Adobe Sensei actually already done the integration with Magento Commerce. So it can be used for now and in the future. So basically, when you are trying to make recommendation, you don't need to do anything. That the AI help it for you to make sure those products will be most clicked, ordered, and purchased. That will be more easy for you. So, and we know for many of the companies, they are not on one brand, they have multiple brands. So there's one thing, do I need to have more website than in China? We already need to build our total separate sites for China. Do I need to do that? So actually for Magento, it's different. So Magento can host all the brands, all the website in the one Magento instance. It's quite easy, and it's easy for teams. They can operation all kinds of brands in the same backend, and all kinds of information actually are in there. Even though when we are trying to see, we can get more covered of countries, like we go for Southeast Asia or any other regions, one Magento still can own all kind of things here. So it's quite simple and easy. Yeah.
So the question we are asked very often is, I already have my TP, my Tmall partner, handling my Tmall, my JD, and now I need to build my, like private traffic and my own e-commerce. I have an entire ecosystem, including my order management system, and I have, all those people working for me and doing a great job managing my TP and my JD. I also have my store POS. I have, like different apps, and how Magento is going to, like take place in all of this. And basically, what's interesting with Magento is that everything is built in a headless way. So you have the opportunity to have many front end. So usually brands will start with WeChat mini program. Right now, it used to be a little bit more like WeChat H5, but now we're talking more about WeChat mini program. And if things are successful, then brands are, like using a second front end, which is going to be, responsive website. Sometimes it can be a mobile app, but what we see, a lot of requests that we're seeing lately from our clients is how basically you take your WeChat mini program commerce Magento base and how you are basically making some sort of copy for Douyin mini program. Because there's a lot of traffic on this social media, so brands want to see how like we can leverage Magento to build like several front end, and we have other ones on Alipay, Xiaomi as an ecosystem of mini programs. So basically, with one single backend using Magento, you can leverage so many different front end, and you can interconnect everything that you have built so far in terms of order management system, in terms of ERP and your BI system, and you can plug this very easily into the existing way that you work. So that means that you don't need to necessarily hire more people in order to build your private traffic channel. The only people that you might need to hire is, everybody taking care of your WeChat account in terms of, social CRM, marketing automation, and kickstarting, like this in order to capture the data in a proper way. But everything, like related to the hotline, that's still, or like content creation to some extent can still be done by your TP if they're taking care of this. And as you can see on the left side, you need to have like different things such as like online payment, Union Pay, WeChat Pay, Alipay, which are easy to implement in Magento. All the live chat, you can interconnect everything to delivery tracking. So it can be SF Express or like a different quality solution. Of course, having the social single sign-on is very important. Social sharing is important, as well as receiving the right SMS and email, which can be implemented as well in Magento. So basically what we've seen is that we need to gather, the customer data in one single platform in order to provide a seamless, frictionless, and customer-centric experience in order to nurture that private traffic. And around Magento, there's an entire ecosystem, including WeChat, WeChat Work, Douyin mini program, websites, and social CRM, content management system, order management system, if this is something that is already done, for your Timo or for your JD. And as well, you can connect it with a CRM. So Magento is going to play a key role in this full ecosystem. And as we mentioned earlier, Alipay mini programs are still to be considered, Douyin mini program as well, and Baidu mini program, Baidu, which is coming back strong right now in terms of search and in terms of traffic. So to conclude, the key takeaway is that things are changing in China, and that consumer really wants a VIP experience, that we can leverage, like public traffic to convert it as much as possible into private traffic, and having, like a good return on investment, and that Magento can be the center of your e-commerce strategy and brand for either B2B or B2C. And we're going to dig deeper into further videos afterwards. So in terms of next step, for the people who have attended, Justin and I, we will give 2 free 1-hour session to help you kickstart and initiate your consulting mission for e-commerce and private traffic in China. So whoever wants to apply, please let us know in private. And we're going to schedule the next session in the next coming days. That will happen in a month from now. The video will be hosted on YouTube. And if you need anything, like don't hesitate to contact us. You get the email of Justin here, is WeChat account, and myself as well. You have, all the details of ITC. So very happy, like for this, like first webinar happening today. So let's keep in touch, and let's connect very soon. Let's connect, again, very soon. And thank you everybody for your attention and time, and hope to see you soon.